welcome back to our programme The New Normal, where we're bringing you the human stories behind this week's headlines. Coming up, growing fears of a second wave of COVID-19 cases in the Middle East and Asia, and Lebanon on the brink of financial collapse. Today, we're at Paris Plage, an annual event where Parisians try to bring the joie de vivre of beach life to the centre of the capital. These events taking place despite the coronavirus. So just how safe are spaces like this? To answer that question, France can perhaps look to the situation in South Korea, which is currently fighting a second wave of infection. Should South Korea be a cautionary tale for Europe? Yureen Park reports from Seoul.
Faced with the second wave of COVID-19 infections, South Korea is sticking to its response to the first outbreak: testing, testing and more testing, and without a European-style lockdown.
지금 체온은 정상이신데 가래랑
많아졌어요. 예전에는 뭐 어디에서 확진자가 나왔다 그러면 그게 이슈가 될 정도로 뉴스에 나오고 이랬는데 요즘은 다 일일이 보고가 안 된다는 거죠.
South Korea has been held up as an example of how to effectively contain the coronavirus. People wore masks and socially distanced, but they let their guard down after restrictions were lifted to coincide with the arrival of public holidays. The scene at this popular picnic spot shows how difficult it can be to maintain a social distance of 2 meters.
그러면 안 되는, 저희도 잘못한 거거든요. 지금 그러면 안 되는데 사람들이 계속 몰리고 있어서 잘 가다가도 갑자기 터져요.
놀고 하기 때문에 이런 데도 약간 개방되어 있는 곳을 주로 찾긴 하는데 집 이렇게 실내는 잘 안 가요.
Those closed spaces are at the centre of the second wave. People visiting bars, gyms and entertainment venues have to scan a barcode on their smartphones. At this dance school, the digital imprint enables the authorities to inform users if someone at the school has tested positive.
신경을 안 쓰는 게 아니고 어느 정도 이제 주의를 어떻게 해야 되는지에 대한 거 이제 신경 써야 되는 게 그러니까 처음에는 다 무서워서 오지 마였으면은 지금은 이건 이렇게 해야 되고 이렇게 해야 되는 문화가 이제 파악이 되고 있는 단계인 것 같습니다.
As they battle a fresh outbreak, most South Koreans support the measures, which will be expanded to cultural venues, churches, and even some schools.
Well, like in South Korea, there's now more testing in France, even here at Paris Plage. Now, that reflects the trend across the world. In Israel, there's more testing, but also more anger. Benjamin Netanyahu's government is increasingly being blamed for a second wave of infection. People say the government lifted the lockdown too soon. Now protests have broken out in Jerusalem, and they are the largest there in 10 years. Iris Makler has the story.
Beirut is a great place for a quiet bite to eat in turbulent Jerusalem. Daniela, its owner, has taken a financial hit from COVID-19. She's a left-winger, but whatever their politics, Israeli restaurateurs are furious with their Prime Minister.
At first we were the best, but after that it started to be a mess politically. There's no thinking, no logic, no cooperation between the different departments, nothing at all. It's just a big mess.
The government has decreed that restaurants must close, again, as of Tuesday. Daniela's already had to part with one employee. After 25 years, she may have to shut down for good.
This place is my whole life. No matter what, I'll die here.
Many Israelis now believe that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu failed to manage lifting the lockdown in May, leading to this second wave. The self-employed have joined anti-corruption activists on the streets to demand his resignation.
I am angry because the people who live over there, our so-called Prime Minister, is taking the entire country hostage in his attempt to escape from a court.
All what he's doing is trying to avoid his trial and trying to get like discount on his taxes in this crazy situation. That's what he's doing. So no, I don't think he's good for the coronavirus.
Benjamin Netanyahu is Israel's longest-serving Prime Minister and a political survivor. But 20% unemployment and an uncontrolled second wave of infection have weakened him. especially now that right-wing voters are starting to join the protests.
Across the Israeli border lies the small Mediterranean state of Lebanon. Coronavirus cases there have been rising in the past few weeks after the country reopened its only airport. But for many Lebanese people, COVID-19 isn't currently their biggest concern. The country is currently in the midst of a massive financial crisis. The local currency, the lira, is losing value almost every day. Food prices are rising fast. Our reporter Catherine Norris-Trent in Beirut has been meeting some middle-class families who've been pushed into poverty.
In Beirut, desperation is in the air.
أنا راح أموت راح مخنوقة شغل ما في بدك تتدين غصبا عنك لطعمي الأولاد أجار الكهرباء روح على شركة الكهرباء وشوف أعطيك وصل 1,500,000 صار علي.
Inflation has skyrocketed in Lebanon, leaving swathes of the population simply unable to meet the cost of daily life. Every day people pack into this charity food and medicine distribution point.
عدد الطلبات ببنين تقريبا زاد بدك تقولي تريبل او مينيموم كمان لانه تعرضنا لكذا مشكله بلبنان هي الكورونا بلشنا رجعنا صار في ثوره 17 تشرين رجعنا عندنا المشكله الاقتصاديه حاليا لعب سعر الليره والدولار.
Many here never imagined they'd be relying on handouts to survive, like Haifa, whose son is a teacher.
لا أول مرة أنا تغير 100 يعني كنا عايشين بشيء وصرنا بشيء والله فجأة هيك انعدمنا ما بقى في شيء عنا.
This charity is handing out more than 10,000 food parcels a month. Many now to middle-class households. Ali just lost his job in a furniture shop and is struggling to feed his 3 children. The minimum wage in Lebanon is now the equivalent of $100 a month.
أنا بالقبل أحلى أكل باكل وبشرب وكل شيء منيح ولادي بمدرسة خاصة هلا بالرسمي إن شاء الله نقدر نحطهم تاخذ لتاك طعمي أولاد أنا عندي 3 أولاد بدي طعميهم تكرم مني بدنا نعيش ما بقى في شيء هاي بلدك راحت.
Lebanon used to be known as the Switzerland of the Middle East, but now millions of people here are struggling to get enough to eat. The World Food Programme and the government here estimate that around half the population could be below the poverty line by the end of 2020.
Let's have a quick look now at the situation in Brazil. The country has been devastated by COVID-19. Nowhere except the United States has a higher death toll. And now protests are taking place. People say they're facing twin threats: the coronavirus and police violence. Our reporters in Rio de Janeiro have been hearing from some of the families affected.
É admissível continuar assim. Deixa a gente para morrer no meio de uma pandemia e quando a gente não morre, coloca o braço armado para cuidar da gente.
Eu fiz o meu papel de mãe, né? Estava mantendo ele dentro de casa, com medo de um vírus, né? Que é o Covid, né? O coronavírus, e o seu filho morreu por vírus muito pior.
Our last story comes from South Africa. The country has been hit hard by the virus, despite a lockdown that's been in place since March. It's of course having a devastating impact on businesses, but some have found unusual ways to thrive during these difficult times. Our reporters have met a food delivery service working in some of the impoverished townships. Caroline DeMay has the story.
It all started in this restaurant, one of Leon's absolute favourites. Since 2015, this young entrepreneur has been developing an app, Order Kazi. Its popularity has exploded during lockdown, with local restaurants able to deliver food to their clients all over Cape Town, including in the townships, where other food delivery services often refuse to go.
I looked into why isn't there such a service. So things like safety and teaching the market about such a service. So all of that, we found solutions to it. we shouldn't have really focused so much on the app, because I realized later that the app isn't the business. The business is us bringing the food to people's doorstep.
And not just any old food. Order Kazi delivers traditional dishes made in township kitchens, like tripe, a favourite of Nelson Mandela, or this special breed of tough chicken.
It's organic, free range chicken, but it's organic chicken, hard body.
The app features 15 of these traditional kitchens. The restaurant owners are delighted at its success, particularly during this time of crisis.
People are not working, so we used to have this place full for lunchtime, but now, as you can see, I don't have people over. With the delivery, we still are able to open and operate the business.
Restaurant staff and drivers have been given a lifeline by Order Kazi, which delivers in a 50-kilometre radius. Encouraged by its newfound popularity, the startup plans to expand to Johannesburg by the end of the year.
That's it for this week's episode. Thank you very much for watching, and let's leave you now with some images from Spain of people trying to enjoy the good weather. A look perhaps at the new normal on our beaches. Take a look, and we'll see you next time.